All right, in this section, we're going to go through a little bit of the hardware configuration and setup inside of Spaghetti. So I've just opened Spaghetti, and we're just in the regular view here, the Spaghetti browser. And we're going to look at setting up a DAC so that you can control your projector. I've got a Helios DAC here. These are great. Giedel from, I think he's from the Netherlands. He makes these, or he designed these. They're under $100. They work great with Spaghetti. A lot of DACs work with Spaghetti. The RIA DACs, just about everything except for something from Pangolin. He's got a whole list of them on his website. But I'm going to be using this Helios DAC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the settings and go to hardware configuration. And normally, you're not going to have a projector here, and if I click detect, this will probably go away since it's not plugged in. Obviously, it's in my hand. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be blank. So you're going to take the Helios DAC, or whatever your DAC is, and plug it in to the USB normally, and then you plug it in to your machine. And you probably heard that just recognized it. And then you click detect. When you click detect, it's going to see, hey, look, there's one Helios DAC. It's number 1. But there's no projector. So I'm just going to add a projector. I'm just going to call it main projector. And now it's red. So if I want to assign this DAC to this projector, if you read the instructions up here, it's really simple. You just do this. Drag it over, drop it, and now it's assigned. What that means is that when I use the laser output inside of Spaghetti, which I can use in all different places, it will output to this DAC right here. So we're going to click OK. And I'm going to show you, actually, I'm just going to go down to my laser folder and go to a ILDA file. Let's just do a test pattern here. And I'm going to turn this test pattern on. Now, right now, this has a little light right here that says when I'm going to click this button, and you should be able to see that it's now scanning, which means you can't tell, but data is being sent to this DAC. And if I click that button again, that light goes off. So this controls output, and that's what you want to send information to your projector. Now you can see I'm sitting here in the browser view, and I can send information to my projector, which is actually really great if you just want to browse through and see what frames look like on your projector. Now, if you're trying to configure or tune your galvanometers or trying to get a piece of art to look correct, then you can use this section here, which is the Projector Settings section, which is also kind of important. I'm going to go over this really quickly because in another video I'm going to show you how it actually affects a laser that is actually lasing and projecting. But I just want to go over the settings so that you're familiar with them. First is the size and position optimization setting. Basically, that's a square in the middle that you can change the size and move the position of the projector of the projection coming out of the front of your laser projector. Now this, when you change it, it's going to affect and squeeze. So if you do this, all of your art's going to be squeezed. If you make it all the way large, you're probably going to have issues with more complex pieces of art. This you can change it to the size of the venue or whatever you want to hit. It's going to be your largest it goes is going to be your maximum scan angle. So if you have a pair of galvos that scans 60 degrees max, when you open this all the way up, that should be about 60 degrees max. That is basically sending a full 5-volt swing on X and Y when it's all the way open. So that's really what this is controlling. And up top here, let's go through this in order. We've got your projector. If you can have multiple projectors right now, we just have the main projector, which is, we know, the first Helios DAC. We're going to go over multiple projectors in a later video. And then you have your minimum and maximum points per second. The minimum should basically be set. This is all going to be set based on your galvanometers. So if your galvanometers have It can do 60 kpps with the ILDA test frame at 8 degrees, then your max is going to be 60. That's the max that the Helios can do. My galvanometers do about 30. They actually do a little bit better, but I like to keep this at 30 just so that the art looks correct. And then the minimum should never be less than 1,000. And then you have your test frames. There is a folder, and this is a little bit of a trick. Some of the test frames that you might want to use, you have to get from different places. There are some of them aren't allowed to be included with software. Even if you owned them, they can't be included with Spaghetti. So there is a folder on your hard drive that Spaghetti lives in. It's in the program files x86 folder, and in there it's actually hinged program files x86 hinged Newt Spaghetti laser show, I think, and then in that folder there's a test frames folder. You can drop test frames into that folder and they will show up inside of Spaghetti when you restart it. So I've got all of my test frames listed here. I don't know, only one of these comes to start with, and I don't remember which one that is, but you can drop all your test frames into that folder and you'll be able to use all of them here. When you select a test frame in this screen, it will automatically output to the laser. So as you see, this light is on. Even though this button over here is not on, the second light here is on, which means it's outputting. So I'm going to set this back to none. Okay, so we went over the size and position. We've gone over the projector specs, which is really this section over here is your galvanometers, not your projector. It's a very specific part. And then we'll go to the next tab. Let's go to blanking optimization. When we use this section, it's going to be to make sure that you don't have tails on your colors and that things are looking the way they're supposed to. It does take some messing with, and we will go over exactly what this section does. But for my projector, I know that both my light hold and my blank hold should be about 7. And I think this is supposed to be around 1300. I forget exactly, but we'll go over that again. Rotation does exactly what you'd expect. It will rotate the actual art. One thing I wish that this had and is a way to recenter it once you rotate it, but you can get it about center and watch what's happening on the screen and rotate it. Then your image correction. This is your what you're going to use to shape the view window, so you'll be able to squeeze it like this, or all these different directions and kind of pitch it around. You can invert your X and Y. So if you're using a test pattern that actually has some words on it, that tells you which the orientation is supposed to be, you can use these to make sure everything's correct. The laser power control is basically exactly what it says. It's pretty easy to read. It's analog or TTL, and this is an interesting tool, the Map 2 laser. When I started out, I had a red and green projector a long time ago. I didn't have blue because back then blue was expensive, and I just didn't have one. So I mapped all of the blue to go to my green laser, like this. So my two colors were covering all of the RGB spectrum. This is useful. If you don't have an RGB projector, it's useful, but the other time it's useful is if one of your lasers goes up. If, let's say, one of your diodes pop and you're in the middle of a show and you just got to get through it, you can just map one color to another so that it's not going to look as good as it's supposed to, but it's because you're missing a laser, but it will get you through the show. Invert blanking, this setting is for, sometimes blanking is 0 is on and 5 is off as far as voltage goes, so you can change it here. The minimum and maximum level here, this is wide open like this with the minimums all the way down, the maximums all the way up. This is going to be the default setting. I will mess with it and find out at what level it begins to laze. So I'll project like a white circle and figure out exactly what level does the red begin to laze, and I'll set that there. And exactly what level, once the minimums are set, exactly what level brings a good white balance. So I'll set all these, and then what Spaghetti will do is it will stay between those areas, and it will modulate. It will take your minimum level and use that basically as 0, and your maximum level and use that as 5 volts. And it will modulate in between there. It's 8 bits, I think, so that's like 255 steps. but it'll put it inside there instead of inside the larger voltage swing. And that's pretty much it for this screen. Blind spots, or blind sports, he's correcting this. I think he already has, actually. But your blind spots are pretty easy to use. You can enable them and add a blind spot. And just pick an area. Let's say you want the center of the screen to not have anything here because you've got a camera there. And you don't want to ruin the CCD on your camera. So you put this right over there, right over where your camera is going to be sitting, and once you're all set up, and then you can laser around it, and the laser will never hit the camera. You should not trust blind spots for crowd mapping. You need to physically move the projector so that it cannot scan over the crowd if that's what you're trying to do. Blind spots are more for mapping out certain areas. Let's say you have a mezzanine and there's one little stray area that could possibly get hit. You could put a blind spot up there. But for the majority of your safety, you need to make sure that your projector is physically situated in a way that it's not going to even be possible for it to scan the crowd. And that's pretty much it for the screen. And that's pretty much it for setting up a projector. So again, you start with your hardware configuration, detect your DAC, and then you drag it over here. And like I said, this works with multiple projectors. Spaghetti does other stuff too. It does handle TTL devices, which are on-off devices, and it also handles DMX devices. It's got a list of different DMX devices that it does. It's got a list of different TTL devices that it does. I don't use these myself. I think I'm going to be using them in the future, and once I do, I will make videos about how to use them. I am actually going to be creating a Lumia wheel using a glass torture tube, which is just a piece of glass that's cylindrical that's been melted and twisted. So I will show you how to set these up once I know how to set them up, but for now, that is basically how to set up your DAC and your configuring your projector. The next time we discuss this section, I don't know whether it'll be the next video, probably won't be, but we'll be going over exactly how to use an actual laser projector and use all of the tuning that you can do inside of Spaghetti and how it actually affects the output. And I'll have a video camera on the wall so you can see that. And that's all for now. Thanks.